Hello, my name is Moses, Los Catadores de Agave, which is an agave club in London. We started a new series called the Agave Chronicles, and we've got Za with us, who's a distilled spirit specialist, specializes in agave. Hello, Za.
Hi, how are you?
So today we're here to talk about some fun stuff in regards to agave spirits and some tequila, some mezcal. So Za, tell us, what is your, let's say, come to Jesus moment with agave spirits?
Oof, that's a good question. So first of all, I started drinking agave spirits since I was 12, right? For some strange reason, my dad decided that he was going to become a hoarder of agave spirits. And
Sounds like me.
yeah, well, no, but this was back in the day where agave spirits were starting. I mean, the tequila boom was kind of starting,
Yeah.
right? But we would always buy agave spirits from the road. He really wasn't buying anything from the market. And then the industry started changing, right? Mixtos started to be produced.
Market, yeah.
So that was one of the wow moments. And then it took me about 12 years to taste that tequila again. And I was at a competition where I was just helping out in San Diego, and I had a proper tequila that tasted just like what I tasted when I was younger.
Yeah.
That was a wow moment. And of course, when I started with the agave industry, when I started to taste a lot of mezcales and see the difference of the plant, the terroir, the hand of the making, that was another wow moment. And it was followed by Dancing Danzon with a wonderful man that is Tio Cornelio. But yeah.
Nice. Thanks for that. So we've got a few bottles here, so we'll taste a couple of these ones. We're going to start off with, you would describe as your favorite tequila, right?
It is one of my favorite tequilas. The thing is that it really depends on my mood.
Okay.
Like what am I feeling? What am I looking for? And also, to be honest, the best tequila is always the one that you have in front of you, the best drink. That is good.
Yes.
Because, yeah, like I've said, there are a lot of things in the market that a lot of people like, and that's also okay.
Yes. So we'll start off with Fortaleza Winter Blend 2022. This is Reposado.
Nice. Oh, you can smell it from here. Delish.
So what do you smell?
Well, I do smell the caramels and the vanillas, right? So normally when I do a tasting, I do swirl a little bit.
Yeah.
Just because this way it's going to open up. And I do use snifters.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will use like the shot glass. You cannot really smell in a shot glass. And of course, with the mezcal, we sometimes use the jicaras. But what you want is to permeate. And another, like, for example, really interesting thing, and this is before I became a taster, how we would do it in Mexico, is that we would put a little bit in our hand and we would rub it. And this tells us a lot of things. So you rub it, you smell it, and if it's sticky, that means it has sugar added. And of course, when I'm doing this with Fortaleza, it's not sticky, but we can still perceive the vanillas, the caramels, and the freshness of the agave. And when I smell first the bottom, then the middle, then the top. Why? Because you'd be surprised that you can perceive different smells whilst you're doing the bottom, the middle, and the top. Like, for example, for me at this moment, the minty flavors are coming up top, the spices are in the middle, and the fruits and herbs are going to be in the bottom.
Yeah.
Right? And that really depends, I would say, of the weather. I know it sounds weird, but it has a lot to do with the humidity that's outside, at the temperature that you're tasting the spirit. So there are many variables. And this is why when we taste any spirit, we don't only taste it once. We taste it more than once with different climatical, weather, different weather, and also different moods, because the way that you perceive anything, it will also depend on your mood. And if you've had a lot of tequilas that day, possibly you're going to perceive more the herbaceous or more the caramels. Again, it really depends on a lot of factors.
Yeah.
So
Salud.
Salud. I'm gonna Mm. So those really beautiful pepper notes, right? But that they combine and blend themselves perfectly with the caramel notes and the vanilla. But the vanilla is not overpowering. And then you find, at least I find, a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of clove as well. But the agave is present all the way.
100%.
And this is why I love what Fortaleza does, because at the end of the day, what they're doing is that they're keeping the sense of the agave, the core of the agave, and then they're going to respect that even when it has been aged by the barrel. And in many shapes and forms, this is what we're looking for when we have an aged agave spirit. There are a lot of people that will also look with something that's a little bit smoother, that is a little bit more permanent in palate, that has a lot of complexity of barrel, and that's also okay. I mean, it has a lot to do with what you're looking for and what you're used to. And I do believe that when you go the agave route, you have to find yourself, because also different makers, different styles talk a lot about your own personality. And when you go down the route of agave spirits, and I'm talking about mezcal, I am talking about raicilla, I am talking about the sotoles that are made from agave, and also sotoles that are made from dacilirium, everything that comes into your body is going to feel a different way, and it has a different personality even within your own self. It's like a religious experience, but then again, that's the Mexican talking.
Love that. Great. So at the club, one thing that we've noticed, so we've done a few events. We started last September, and I think we've done 7 different tastings. We've typically done single brands, but we've done a blind recently, Blanco blind. But one thing that we found consistently, as my knowledge of agave and spirits has grown, and I've tried more and more, I've fallen more and more in love with Blancos. But what we find in the club is people love repo. It just seems to be the happy medium for new people into this space, even though traditional Mexicans like yourself probably don't really enjoy it as much. Now, I'm broadly speaking.
You know, I would say, actually, regardless of what I like and what I don't like, I'm a huge fan of the flavor, the pure flavor of the agave.
Yes.
The core of the agave. Having that said, the way that tequila was somewhat positioned, it was because of a reposado or because of an añejo. And it was positioned all around the world because it had a different length, it had a different flavor, it had a different expression. So I do believe that a reposado is somewhat the gateway in order to assimilate and also to prepare your palate. It's a little bit like when I started drinking whiskey. Of course, in Mexico, we had a lot of bourbons mostly.
For sure.
So when I started to drink Scotch and to drink Irish whiskey, my gateway was a rye. So that prepared my palate to different styles and to different lengths within a whiskey. And of course, then I discovered, peaty Scotch, and it was just fascinating because I was like, I'm from here, but it opens your palate to be more curious and to start asking questions like, what is this tequila made of? How is this tequila made? Because the more and more you taste agave spirits, you're going to ask yourself those questions.
So with that being said, a big part of at least a tasting experience for us is not just tasting of tequila, but also pairing. So like how some of the pairings complement the flavors, all of that stuff. As an educator in the agave space, what are your favorite food pairings or cuisines when it comes to agave spirits broadly?
The beauty about agave spirits is that you can pair it with almost everything, especially when we're talking about a Blanco. In the sense that, first of all, any spirit has fatty acids. And it's going to relate really well with very fatty meats, but also with amazing mushrooms or with salads. Like I used to do a lot of food pairings when I was back home. And it was amazing because I think one of the best or most interesting pairings I made was sotol from Dacilirium with duck.
Oh, wow.
And it was just outstanding. We did that at a French-Mexican restaurant that's called Estoril. And of course, with a really amazing salad that has grapefruit and maybe some pumpkin seeds, you can pair a Blanco. When you're talking about dessert, yes, you can pair an añejo, but you can also venture and wild beyond that, and you can taste an agave that's called Karwinski. So mostly in the label, you will find it as cuiche, bicuiche, barril. It depends on where it comes from, but you can also pair a beautiful creme brulee with an amazing Karwinski. It really depends. I've done Indian food, I've done Japanese food, Chinese food. So it really pairs well. And it has more to do with the way that you present the elements. Yeah. Normally, as a sommelier, what I like to do is I give the guest an experience. This meaning is that you have different elements in a salad, for example. Yeah. So you take a bite of a green leaf, and then you take a bite of a different green leaf, and you perceive how that changes the flavor of the spirit and of the food as well, and then you combine them all. So that's the way I like to do it, but that's because I like to play with people. So my favorite game is to play with their palates.
Okay, a couple quick fire questions then. Based on the food pairing you said, give me 4 dishes and 4 different, you don't need to name a brand, but 4 different tequilas you pair them with.
Okay. There's a beautiful, beautiful añejo tequila extra añejo that's called Tears of Llorona. Sometimes really hard to get.
Also expensive, but quality stuff.
Yeah, and I would, with Tears of Llorona, I could even pair it with a pork belly that's with a teriyaki sauce, or with like a jerk chicken sauce.
Nice.
But you can also pair it with a creme brulee. I wouldn't pair it with chocolate, not because you can't, you absolutely can, but you want to bring out the chocolatiness of the barrel aging within Tears of Llorona. Then another tequila that I like is Pandillo, and of course tacos. You know, like you go to Pacifico, you eat your tacos, you drink
what
your
filling
Pandillo.
are you going for in the tacos?
Well, again, you can go vegan, you can go not vegan. In this case, I would possibly go with more like a pork carnitas.
Yeah, carnitas.
Something with pineapple.
Okay. Because
also pineapple is going to kind of block a little bit the taste of the agave, but that means it's going to bring out the taste, the herbal notes. And then, for example, also with Pandillo, something that Carlos hasn't made yet, but now I'm thinking of telling him, like a cold soup, mainly because it's been
really warm
here in London. So a cold soup made with avocado, a little bit of cream, and with rose pepper, so like a pink pepper. I would totally do that. Another tequila that I would think of, well, definitely Fortaleza, the one that we're having right now. If we don't want to go Mexican, this with a butter chicken, or with a chickpea salad, you know, with a little bit of tomato, a little bit of onion, with parsley, and that counterpart, and you can taste other lengths of spices when you do this, because of maybe, of course, doing a vinaigrette with a little bit of white vinegar, olive oil, really easy peasy, you know. Also pomegranate works really well with a lot of tequilas, either reposado or blanco.
Okay. Second quick fire question. If you could only drink one cocktail, agave cocktail, for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Paloma.
And why? Tell us why.
Again, this is one of the first ways I got introduced to agave spirits. In Mexico, you go to the pyramids, right? then you go down. I remember we were teenagers and we were in high school, and we would go to the Postlan and go up the pyramids and then come down, and we were really thirsty. And of course, the teachers weren't looking at us. They couldn't care less. Well, no, they did care them. But I mean, I promise they did care. We're still, all of us, we're still alive. And you would have like these jarritos that it was basically tequila, lime, and squirt, which is our grapefruit soda in Mexico, with a little bit of tajin or with ice. And that would be the drink that we would drink after walking hours, going up the hill, down the hill. And we would have that. So my first approach was with grapefruit. And I do believe that grapefruit also shows it enhances the flavors of the agave spirit, because it doesn't hide them. Sometimes if you just do the shot with the lime, you can be overwhelmed by the acidity of the lime, and that's going to mask the flavors of the agave spirits. So of course you don't want that. And grapefruit works really well as oranges. So for me it would be a paloma.
Okay. So we're going to move on. We've got another great bottle. This is now we're kind of backwards. We've gone to a Blanco. So we've got G4 or G4. You like G4, don't you?
Yeah. It's a beautiful, beautiful spirit.
Tell us about what you're smelling and tasting on this one.
The leaf. Oh, it's actually slightly farmy.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful, because that talks about the wild yeast, or it tells you about what's going on around the surroundings. A little bit sweet.
Yeah.
So that tells me that it has been for a couple of months or a couple of weeks in barrel. But you can still feel the leafiness of the agave. The peppers are not as prominent as you would find them with Fortaleza.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a beautiful tequila. But I do like that farming note. A lot of people, let's say, for example, if you're in a competition and you're not an agave drinker, you're going to smell the farminess and you're going to think it as a flaw. And it's not.
No.
In terms of agave spirits, or in terms even in other spirits, that farmy or that funky, for example, when we're talking about, let's say, agricole rum, you want that funky. You're looking for that funk. And the same thing with agave spirits. You're looking for that funkiness, and you're looking for that slight farminess. So
nice. I really like it as well. Very, very earthy. Very earthy. I would say minerally. Really good to sip on its own. But it would also make a great paloma.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, another question. What is, as an educator, obviously you've been educating for a while, you've been in different spaces across the world. What is one big agave misconception or opinion that people have that you really hate?
There are many. The first one is that agave spirits are going to give you a hangover. First, and as I've said before, when the mixtos came in the market, and now there are some that are quality mixtos. There are some of them that are not. And also there are some processes in the agave industry that doesn't give you a lot of the flavor of the agave. So basically when you're using certain processes, you lose the core or the caramels that inherently you get by roasting an agave heart. So one of the misconceptions is that, no, I don't even want to smell tequila because it gives me a headache and it's just absolutely and utterly horrible. And I'm like, maybe if you try, let's try a different tequila, or maybe if you really cannot take the smell of tequila, because tequilana has a very distinct smell. It's like, let's go the back alley. Let's go through another route. And why don't you try an agave spirit from Durango or an agave spirit from Michoacan? An agave spirit that is from a different agave varietal and that it's not going to have that reminiscence of that horrible experience you had.
Yeah.
Another thing that a lot of people tell me is like, oh yeah, in the case of mezcal, oh, mezcal has mescaline. No, that was a misconception that actually an Englishman wrote about mescaline and mezcal, and they thought that mescaline and mezcal were intertwined. Mescaline is only in the peyote plant. The peyote plant is a cacti, so also a succulent, but it's a cacti that grows in a very specific region of Mexico, and for us is an ancestral way of healing as well, so very different. And a lot of people says, oh yeah, I'm gonna get high with mezcal, and I'm like, well, I mean, depends on the amount of mezcal that you drink. Yeah. You probably will, but not really.
Yeah.
Another, let's say, there are so many misconceptions.
There's so many, and I think one of the things that we've noticed at the club as well is people. One of the reasons why I started it was because we wanted to change the way people consume the agave spirits, but also the way they viewed it. So we present it in a very kind of enjoyable, but I would say chilled way. So like you come, you sit down, you're sipping on them at your own pace, but you're being introduced to them in the way we've drank it here. You sniff it, you swirl it, you enjoy it, you pick up some of the flavor notes. And I think that way, exactly what you described, some of the way that people consume it as a shot, you're not inherently going to smell all of the flavor profiles that's in there or taste it.
Even by the inherent nature of a shot glass, you know, like the boca, the mouth of the shot glass is really, really short, and you cannot get the aromas, you cannot get the flavors. So of course you're not going to have the full experience of an agave spirit. And again, this happens when you have a good whiskey or when you have a good cognac. You have a cognac glass or you have a tumbler, right? You don't put it in a shot glass. I mean, I haven't seen anybody shoot a very amazing single malt, single cask whiskey. Not yet, but it could happen. You never know. But you're enjoying it. And again, I think that in the world of distilled spirits, and I'm not only talking about agave spirits, I'm talking about rum, I'm talking about whiskey, I'm talking about gin, I'm talking about vodka. Like you can even perceive different flavors in vodka, or you can perceive how they extract the botanicals in certain gins, and that's what makes a good gin. You know, you need to first sip it, and then you can make cocktails. Definitely. 100%. I mean, like I love cocktails, and my cocktail experience started very late in my life, but in reality is that once you find that balance and you have a person that respects the spirit but also wants to make something amazing, it's a little bit like also making a good food pairing. You know, you find the balance and you create it and you create an experience. And that's what a cocktail for me is, creating an experience.
So when we first spoke about having this conversation, you told me a very interesting story about mixology and how when it ticked for you. Can you kind of share some of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, as a Mexican, normally if I would drink a margarita, or if I would drink a paloma, I would drink it because I'm with my friends or something like that. If I'm in Mexico, if I was going to do something as a mix, I know it's horrible, but I would do a michelada. You know, that's the normal way. I mean, with lots and lots and lots of Maggi sauce and lots of lime and lots of, you know, like chile or whatever. I mean, I mean, any German or any Belgian would be appalled, but it's okay. We're Mexicans, so we're allowed. So I really didn't understand the cocktail industry, and I was in Germany and I was teaching about a very specific brand at that moment, and I was at Stagger Lee, and the bartender, I had tried his whole menu, and I'm like, well, I mean, they're all very interesting, but I'm still not getting it, mate. I was like, oh my god, this girl just wants to get drunk. To be honest, I was quite sober. So he asked me a question, and he asked me, what does your name taste like to you? I was like, oh, I had never thought of that. Yeah. And Jacob is quite synesthetic. Now he's in New Zealand, but he's quite synesthetic, and that was part of his synesthesia. So I told him that my name to me tasted like bitter chocolate with dark sour cherries, orange, cinnamon, and that's about it. And he made me the best old fashioned that till this day I remember. And like I say, it's all about the cherry up top, like the way he macerated the cherries, the way he treated his syrups, the way he chose the right whiskey for me, having spoken to me and all that. And from that day on, I was like, oh, okay, I'll start giving drinks a try, and I'm good.
Okay, so, great. So, question: what is the biggest agave spirits hot take that you have that maybe a lot of people don't believe or don't share, that you think is relatively like eccentric?
In terms of cocktails?
No, just spirits broadly. Agave though.
So, can you repeat the question?
Yes, and a hot take. So basically something that could be quite controversial, or an opinion that is quite eccentric, but agave spirits related.
Well, there's so many controversy surrounding agave spirits, but at the moment, like literally with my friends that are from our gin club, we're right now all going on rage, or like trying to taste the new piña colada with tequila, and this was brought on by Eric Zandon, that he has written lots and lots of books, and we were like chatting, and have you tasted piña colada with tequila? And I'm like, no. Well, I mean, he asked the group, and we were like, oh no, we shall taste that. But there's so much controversy around the agave industry. Like, it would take me days.
Give us one then. It could be a small one. It doesn't need to be the biggest. That you feel strongly about.
Oh, that agave tequilana is an angustifolia. So in the world of agave, of course, you have different agave species.
Yeah.
The one that is used mostly for the production of mezcal is the agave espadín, right? Which is an angustifolia, and tequilana is a hybrid of espadín. But that's one of the things that tequileros will not tell you, because tequilana is tequilana. No, it's an angustifolia that hybridized in the region of Jalisco. That's it. That's a big one. And tequileros some tequileros will accept it. Some tequileros would get really, really angry at you because tequila is tequila. And I'm like, the plant is the plant. It's botany. Don't shoot the messenger.
Cool. So you brought this. Tell us about this mezcal. It's mezcal, right?
Yeah. So basically, it's like, baby, let's just meet in the middle. So this is a beautiful, beautiful mezcal from the region of Michoacan. So Michoacan is one of the few states in Mexico that can produce tequila, mezcal, and charanda. Charanda is sugarcane spirit.
Yeah.
This one is actually a blend of two agaves. One of them is the Saguayo and one of them is the Bruto. The reason why I brought this, first of all, because I love the juice of Zacal. It's absolutely amazing.
It smells delightful, really nice.
Yeah. These are the agaves that tequila, when we used to call it vino mezcal de tequila, we didn't only use tequilana. Tequilana started to be used in the 1800s, in the late 1800s, when Weber decided that it was the agave that had the most amount of sugars.
Yeah.
However, vino mezcal de tequila was produced with a lot of many varietals of agave. So again, I would say...
So it's like what the traditional ensemble would be now, right? That's what used to be.
Yeah. So basically, what they did is that whatever could be harvested, they would harvest it, they would put it together. And it would have a much complex flavor. It would be higher in alcohol. I mean, a lot of things would change. And then the tequila industry started to become a tequila industry, and they kind of copied a little bit the legislation or the denomination of origin from Champagne, which, I mean, it's okay. However, agave is a very different beast. And the reason why I brought this, first of all, because I love it. Second of all, because it's high ABV. And third of all, because these are some of the agaves that you would have found in a vino mezcal of the region blend.
So this is 50% ABV, so really high. Not really high, but it's high for what we're drinking today. But it is quite closer to what you traditionally find in a base level quality mezcal, right? Like you find higher ABV that I found anyway in my experience.
Yeah, so normally mezcales, you're going to find them, the lowest ABV is going to be 42 or 43.
Yeah.
I do believe that is kind of like the sweet spot, the 43, 45 ABV is the sweet spot to get the complexity, but not as many high alcohols or low alcohol. So to get the heart, because that's where the heart is. This is at 50%, but if you taste it,
it doesn't.
It does. I mean, like literally, it's not going to burn you. Of course, you feel the alcohol, but it's not going to be like a harsh alcohol that burns
not
you.
At all.
I have tasted spirits 35 ABV that burn me, and I'm like, oh my god, why do they want to kill me? And again, it is quite cheesy. It's quite farmy.
You really get that's the first note that I pick up. Very cheesy. On the nose, very cheesy, but I find it quite fruity when you taste it, though.
Mm-hmm. And that is the core of the agave. That's the way that it has been roasted. Because again, the way that you develop the caramels of the agave heart are going to influence the flavor.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go scientific and we can talk about the Maillard process, which is something that also happens even with onions. You know, like when you're making cooking and you're caramelizing your onions, you get something that's really, really sweet. A friend of mine just made tarte tatin with onions in the Okanagan in Canada.
That's insane.
And you know, now that I'm thinking of it, it would go great with this amazing mezcal that's Zacal.
Yeah.
You know, like I can totally have a tarte tatin that is made with onions with these beautiful cheesy notes that are very floral, but you can also taste the herbs. There's like a bite, a slight bite, like a fresh bitter note that would be the wild herbs that you have in that region.
Yeah, this is really good stuff. So we have a tequila, we have some mezcal, another agave spirit is raicilla. Tell us quickly about that and some of your experiences with raicilla.
Oh, I love raicilla. So again, raicilla is what vino mezcal of the region of Jalisco used to be like.
Yeah.
And in many shapes and forms, they're keeping their processes. So back in the day, before the conquest, the indigenous groups, or well, the First Nations groups, they had something called a capacha pot. So the capacha pot is a pot on top. It would have 3 legs and then a pot in the bottom. And then they would have like a jicara that had 2 strings, and in the middle, something that resembled like a shot glass. And basically, they would put the fermented beverage or the juice, and that's the way that they would distill.
Okay.
And it was an old way of distilling, but of course, I mean, the amount of juice that you would get, it would be this much.
Yeah.
When the conquest started, you have various routes. So you have the Atlantic and the Pacific.
Yeah.
And through the Pacific, at the same time, the Spaniards were also conquering the Philippines and some of the southern islands. So they would go in their route to the Philippines and then come back to the Americas. Well, the Americas.
Yeah.
And that's how the Philippines still got into the region of Jalisco. And they realized that first they were producing a distilled spirit from coconut milk, or well, coconut water, which is called tuba in Mexico. And they would take it all around because the Jalisco region is really well connected in terms of rivers. So they would take it down the river and up the river. And then they realized that the cooked agave, when you take the juice out and you ferment it, you could also distill it. And this is when agave started to be made. Agave spirits started to be made. And also in terms of raicilla, so raicilla, what it means, it's small root. And they were kind of hiding the name because in some places it was illegal to produce spirits.
Okay.
So they wouldn't call it vino, they wouldn't call it distilled spirit, they would call it raicilla. Yeah. And they would use the Philippine steel with a copper pot on top, and they would do amazing spirits. But then they would also have to hide, and those fermentation processes, they are made in a hole in the ground from volcanic rock. Okay. So again, every single part of the process when we're talking about agave spirits will play a role significantly in the taste. Raicilla is produced with 6 varietals of agave, or 6 varietals of agave or species of agave are permitted. It's a longer fermentation process precisely because the tajipo, that's what the hole in the ground is called, will take a longer time. So sometimes fermentations can go up to 2 months or 3 months, depending on the weather. And then they take it out with a bucket and they distill in a Philippine steel. And even though it's quite rustic, I would say, it is absolutely stunning. I mean, the flavors that you get from a raicilla are absolutely stunning because you've got the herbs, you've got the fruits, you've got the leaves, you've got the bitters. Yeah. And again, the complexity of artisanal spirits is absolutely mind-boggling once you get into that world.
Yeah, 100%. I think I'm still personally quite new to raicilla. I've had a few different instances. I found it very positive. One thing that I found when drinking more raicilla is that I found it probably is the easiest to pair with meals because of the range of the notes that I got and the range of the flavors that I got from the ones that I tasted.
Yeah, I do believe that you're right in terms of it has so much complexity in the palate, but again, not that harshness that you would find, and it's not overly sweet. So it has a very, I wouldn't even say it delicate because it's not a delicate balance. No, it's quite a punch. But at the same time, it plays around, and once it opens up, you're going to find different flavors because a lot of people think that when you have a distilled spirit in a glass, it's not going to evolve, and that is very far from the truth. Once you open a bottle, once you put it in a glass, it's going to start evolving. Why? Because the temperature is going to be different, because also you've opened up your palate to different flavors, and that complexity within the drink is going to play a complexity within a pairing.
Last question. For someone that's new to agave spirits, give them one tequila brand, one mezcal brand, and one raicilla brand that they must buy as a first stop for them in their journey.
Okay, so in terms of raicilla, definitely I would go with Derrumbes.
Okay.
And possibly from the coast, because it's going to be a punchy flavor. However, it is going to be quite, I wouldn't say mellow. I think it's just the fruitiness is going to be very amicable to a lot of people. In terms of mezcal, I mean, we're tasting a wonderful mezcal right now. It really depends on the person. Okay. Again, it really depends on the experience that they have had with agave spirits before. Okay. Like I've said, if you find a person that is really off agave because they got really, really drunk when they were young, then you don't give them an espadín. And you don't give them a Oaxaca mezcal. You would give them possibly something from Durango, or you would give them something from Michoacan.
Okay.
And again, like for example, Zacal is a perfect example. The Rumbes is also another example. Sorry, like the raicilla that I would suggest is the thing is that they're sister brands, and it is La Venenosa.
Okay,
so
yes.
La Venenosa is
the
So La Venenosa is a wonderful raicilla. They're sister brands, the Rumbes and Venenosa. That's why I kind of mixed them up. Apologies. The Rumbes also has a beautiful mezcal from Durango.
Okay.
If you're trying something from Oaxaca, if you are a Scotch drinker, definitely go all the way with Oaxaca.
Okay.
Go with something really, really smoky. I mean, there are various brands. There's Holgorio, there's Coyote, there is one that's in the middle would be Ojo de Dios, for example. That one that is not as smoky would be Montelobos. It really depends on the experience of the person. In terms of tequila, I would go easy peasy. I would start someone with a tequileño. Tequileño is, it has that flavor of the agave. It is well made. I would never give someone that is going to, let's say, a frat party or anything like that a mixtura. It's like, no. Like, if you're in my house, you're not going to do that. So I'd rather you have a good tequila and pay maybe 10 or 15 more quid, but you're not going to quality agave. So definitely 100% agave spirits. And tequileño is, what I love about tequileño is the wild fermentation process will give you a slight flavor of the mango, that the mango tree that's outside La Tequileña, the distillery, and that is also quite amicable. It has a sweet flavor without having the influence of a barrel. And even if you have the reposado or the añejo, they're quite lovely, both of them. I would go, and it's in a budget. Again, it's not, and we're talking about like someone that's going to start drinking agave, right?
So which El Tequileño, would you go for the mixto or the platinum?
No, I would go for the platinum.
Okay.
Again, because a person that's going to have a first experience of agave spirits, I would say that they should have 100% agave.
Okay.
Why? Because if not, they're going to get confused. Their body's going to get confused. So I would go with 100% agave. And again, Tequileño is a really good brand. It is, it's there. It has the flavors, well made. The people that are behind it have a lot of love for agave.
Very innovative as well. That was actually the first tequila brand that we done at the tasting. So definitely big fans of El Tequileño. Za, thanks for your time. Thanks for taking us through agave spirits.
Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully we have you at the club hosting one of the sessions.
Oh, I would love to. Well, so see you soon.